Hi everyone, it's Kerry back with you today. I recently shared this tag that I had created using the August Freebie that is available in the Playing with Paper and Glue Facebook group. And I had a few people ask how I created this tag with the see-through section. So I'm going to show you how I did that today. Now you can do this of course with any papers. This one I actually used the base is from the Botanical Identification Card Freebie, and this is just one of our little vintage people from the Vintage People Papers Pack. And then this one I've actually created, instead of using acetate, I've just popped a little lace piece in there, and I've just made a fabric label piece with that. So I've used a punch to create my aperture, but if you don't have punches or dies, you can of course just tear out a section like I've done here. I've just torn this piece out. So let's gather some bits and pieces and I'll show you how I've created it. Okay, so to begin with, I have this page from the August Freebie in the Playing with Paper and Glue Facebook group. Now this freebie will be available in our shop on the 1st of September. So if you don't like Facebook, or you don't use Facebook, you will still be able to get this freebie. You'll just have to wait till the beginning of September. And all I've done is I've folded this in half, and then I've trimmed out a rectangle. So I've folded it in half, cut around the edges, so I've got this rectangle. Now I've also got a couple of pieces of acetate here. Now these are second-hand pieces of acetate that were out of a stamp set. So I'm just using those. If you don't have acetate, you could use a piece of cellophane, or maybe some tracing paper or some vellum would work as well. It just wouldn't be quite as see-through. So I've got my folded tag here in front of me, and I'm going to cut my aperture out of the side with the fold in it. So I'm going to bring in my super giant circle punch, which I absolutely love, just because I'm too lazy to get out my dies most of the time. And I'm just going to decide whereabouts I would like the aperture to be. So I'm going to pop it about there. So that punches out this hole for me in the folded edge of my card here. So at this point you need to decide whether you want this to be an opening like a pocket, or if you're happy for it to be closed like, just like a double-sided tag. If you're wanting it to be a pocket, you'll need to fold your acetate in half so that you've still got a pocket here, so you'll have acetate on both sides of the card. If you're just planning on having it as a tag, you can just cut a single piece of acetate that's not folded, and that will give you the little window panel here that you can see through. So for mine today, I'm just going to make it a tag, and I need to make sure that the piece of acetate that I'm cutting is big enough to cover my aperture. So I'm just going to take my scissors, and I'm lining up the bottom of my acetate here about 1 centimetre below my hole here. So I'll come out a little bit, and just going to snip roughly up there. Just pop that in, make sure I've got enough. I've actually still got a little bit too much. You can see it hanging out there, so I'll need to trim that down a bit. And then I need to have enough to cover the hole. That doesn't look very straight on that side. So I'm just going to trim this and make sure my acetate's got a straight edge. That's better. So pushing it up to the crease in my card. That's going to be fine like that. And I can just snip along there. So I've still got another piece here that I can use for another project. So that fully covers my aperture. So because I'm not making it a pocket, I can go ahead and glue this in and close my tag up completely. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of glue stick. And I really don't want to get any glue on the visible part of my acetate, so I'm just going to go around the edge of my aperture and then around the rest of the tag. Now I'm going to stitch mine closed so I'm not worried if it doesn't go right to the edge. So making sure that the edge of my acetate is butted hard up against the spine part, or the crease part, sorry. I just gently fold that over and smooth that down, so that will pick the acetate up on the inside. Alright, so now I've got my acetate, which is giving me that window in the card there. I'm just going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to stitch all the way round the edges of my tag here. Okay, so when it comes to decorating, because it's see-through, anything that you put over the window will of course be visible from the back. And the white sort of looks fairly unsightly, so you can do a couple of different things. You can either find elements that completely mirror what you're putting on the other side. So for example, if I were to pop this picture on the other side, then I'm covering the white on both sides. But if you don't have something that's exactly the same shape, so say for example I wanted to put this butterfly here and I didn't have another butterfly to match it up with, you can easily disguise things by either colouring the back and maybe stamping or putting some other interest on the back so that it's not just stark white, or you can use something like brown paper or even music paper, book page, fabric, anything that you like, to sort of disguise it a little bit. So for example, I've just got a piece of brown paper here and I'm just going to tear this down so that it sort of fits the size of my butterfly quite well. So if I were to glue my butterfly onto that brown paper, and I can still incorporate that on this side of my project and it doesn't look bad, but when I turn it over I've only got brown paper here visible, which again doesn't look bad, and then I could use a different element, say, to pop over the top, and it doesn't matter that my elements aren't the same shape. So fortunately with a lot of the things that Rennie creates, she gives us mirror images of items, which makes it much easier to layer things up. So for example, I've got two butterflies here, and when I lay them one over the other, they are the same shape. So I could glue them together and just stick them onto one side of my tag, or I can glue one down. In fact, let's just do it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of ink on the back of my butterflies, just because my cutting might not have been lined up perfectly, and this just helps disguise any of that white that might peek through. Okay, so I'll bring my tag back in and I'll just pop some glue on the back of my butterfly. Now when you're working with acetate, if you get glue on it, it's kind of hard to get it off, so it's better to try to be a bit cautious when you're applying glue on acetate. So we'll pop that one there. And then just lining up, put that one there and just give it a bit of a press down. So now I have my clear acetate with a butterfly matching on both sides. So I'll just continue on and finish decorating this one. go. Now we have our acetate window there that's got decoration on both sides, and we don't have any of that white showing through there, so that's how I've done that. And of course you can always use other elements. You don't have to just use acetate. So for this one I've actually used a piece of lace and I've just glued that on the inside. And then there's this one which just has the clear little acetate window, and I haven't stuck anything onto that one there. So I hope that explains how I've created those. They are lots of fun, and of course you can have heaps of variety. The August Freebie is available in the Playing with Paper and Glue Facebook group, and I will leave a link to that below. And the Botanical ID cards are now available as a freebie in the shop as well. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time. Bye.